Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Ball Boxing. Don't check your calendars. It is Wednesday night and not Thursday night if you're watching live as a one-off due to a small football game happening tomorrow night. Joined by regulars. Ander. Good evening, Ander.
How are you, pal?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Harrison. Good evening.
Evening, Carl. Good to see you.
Orkan. Good evening from Sweden.
Good evening, Carl.
Looking forward to your holidays on Friday, no doubt. That I heard you talking about, but it's a family
Yes.
show, so we'll keep it clean. So, moving on to the first topic. So, obviously, a boxer card took place at Sellers Park on Saturday. Reactpor versus Billy Smith and some undercard. Yeah, we'll get on to what I think about it in a bit, but I'll hand you over to Andy as ever to cherry pick some undercard and take us through the card. Over to you, Andy.
Right, okay. We'll go straight in with it. We'll go straight in with Billy Smith, Richard Riakporhe, Carl. Before we do that, let's talk about where it was, where it took place. Sellers Park, Crystal Palace. Now, I'm only a fan of stadium events when the stadium's rocking, because if it's not, and there's empty spaces around the venue, it falls flat.
Well, Ander,
I'll come to you, Aaron.
Billy and Forest would never play at home then, would they?
That's not keeping it family friendly.
Yeah. I think your game is. I think your game is mixed up with Notts County, mate. But I'll let you off on that one.
I'm not Notts Forest. I'm not. Anyway, carry on with the box.
Yeah, you are, mate. And it's not Notts Forest, as you well know. But let's leave it there because this could go on for hours. I was a little bit disappointed with the layout. It didn't really make sense. The ring was in the position it was in. They didn't have enough ground seats for me. Pitch seats. I don't know. I just thought it fell flat. I thought they were having it at a stadium for the sake of it. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Harrison, what did you feel about it? What did you think of the atmosphere that was going on?
Yeah, it was terrible. Simply terrible. I just, like you said it there perfectly. Over the last 5 or 6 years, the big stadium fights that you can put to mind, the likes of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, when they've had their big nights at Wembley. And when they do it like that, they get it spot on because it's got the fireworks, it's got the fiasco, there's 90,000 people there. This show should have been at the O2 or at Wembley Arena or somewhere like that because it felt like something out of Phoenix Nights to me. It was stupid. The ring was in the middle of nowhere. They were only using half of one stand. To me, it was just a real big mess of a show. The boxing itself, in and out, it was okay at times, but for me, I just didn't enjoy watching it. It didn't feel like a big fight night to me.
Jack, I don't know what's going on with your sound, Jack, but it's humming, mate. While I've got you, Harry.
That's because I had the thing on. That better?
Yeah, that's better, mate.
Yeah.
While I've got you, Harris.
I had to put a fire on because it's been raining up here and I was drying my dog off.
All right, dude. Okay. While I've got you, Harrison, reaction to Billy Smith against Riakporhe. We all gave our opinions last Thursday. Most of us thought Riakporhe was going to be good enough for the win.
That's right, and
what went wrong?
We're having a shocker, aren't we, on predictions?
We are terrible, mate. Yeah. Absolutely dreadful.
Well, steady on, folks. One of us managed, and I haven't been on before. One of us did manage to predict Chris Billy Smith here. I seen the fight playing out very similar to how it did. I think the big thing for a lot of people was how underwhelming Richard Riakporhe was off the bat. A lot of people thought that he would be much more aggressive and into his status, that he could apply much more pressure to Chris Billy Smith than he did. Part of that was him being disappointing, but then part of it you do have to, again, respect that Chris Billy Smith just boxed very well, technical, true to himself. It's the way we know Chris Billy Smith to fight. I don't know. It was one of those. It wasn't an interesting fight at all. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've watched it back as it was a classic. I just haven't enjoyed that company of the cruiserweight division in Britain recently. Richard Riakporhe, interesting to see what he does now. Is he going to get another shot at cruiserweight? Probably not. He's had to wait a long time just to get this one. So he's probably going to go up to Bridgerweight and fight Lawrence Okolie in what would be the worst fight of all time to watch. But yeah, I was disappointed with Richard Riakporhe far more than I was impressed with Chris Billam-Smith, who just did what he had to do to win.
Darren, you quite often see fighters when they get this massive homecoming, they get a new lease of life. They're indestructible. I don't understand Richard Riakporhe. He was easily the best fighter in the first fight they had. That was 5 years ago. And I asked last week, who's improved the most? Quite clearly, Chris Billam-Smith has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, I actually tweeted during the fight. I thought Richard Riakporhe would win the fight as well. I honestly don't know what his game plan was. He went in the ring. He looked lost. It looked like he didn't even have a plan A. I just don't know what his game plan was. He looked like he wasn't interested at times. Landed a few little decent shots here and there, but he was smothering, he was holding. I mean, for me, Chris Billam-Smith is a fighter that can also make you look bad. You know, I will give Chris Billam-Smith that. He can make fighters look bad, but like, it was an absolute stinker of a fight, and Richard Riakporhe was just non-existent in it. I'm lost for words for what his game plan was. There wasn't even a plan A for me. And he should really be disappointed with himself, because, you know, he bigged himself up saying he was going to win the fight and he was going to do this and going to do that and go on to bigger things. But he was found out, to be honest with you. He was lost for a game plan.
Well, he fooled me, Darren. I thought he was going to have the punch power to dismantle Chris Billam-Smith. Chris Billam-Smith, though, I mean, let's have it right, lads. He's an absolute warrior that's clearly got powers of steel. I think he can hang when it comes to lasting 12 rounds. I think he can hang with any cruiserweight.
No.
It's whether he can get around the skill of other fighters. Can he disrupt other fighters in the way that he did Riakporhe when it comes to the really big boys in the division? Carl, I'll come to you, mate.
His chin's granite, though. He's got a real good chin.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
mate.
Let's not pretend he can be Opasaya. Let's not.
I'm not saying that, but his chin definitely has stood the test of time against a lot of them now.
He's absolutely bang average. And I keep saying it. He got in with a Riakporhe. He didn't even want to throw his right arm.
No, I agree. He didn't throw a lot, but when Richard Riakporhe did very rarely in the fight land, he took them well. Chris Billam-Smith, he did take them well.
I was very underwhelmed with Riakporhe.
So since the fight
I don't know where he goes from here, if I'm honest with you. Andy's waxed lyrical about him for years about being the best cruiserweight. Well, definitely not on that performance. He wouldn't even put him in the top 5.
I have.
So I don't know. Again, I think Billam-Smith's Christmas has come.
He's very underwhelming.
I think his Christmas has come again. I think Riakporhe is all there for him, wasn't it? Homecoming at Sellers Park on the was it the 80th centenary or something like that? 40th? I don't know, because they're only a small club. But it was all there for him. And he couldn't motivate himself. He looked very underprepared from round 1 for me.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Cole, you've got at some point to start to give Chris Billam-Smith some credit.
Not really.
For his style of fighting, the fact that he disrupts other fighters' rhythm, the fact that he's able to. He's durable. He's got a great chin. He's got a fantastic engine. I mean, the thing is, he's very capable of putting any fighter out of the rhythm. It's whether he can do that for 12 rounds against the best. And we'll find that out, because he will get the Opasaya fight at some point.
It's so limited. It's untrue. It would be an absolute mismatch if he jumped to with Jai Opasaya. Absolute mismatch. So let's not start painting him as a will.
No, it won't be a
It would.
Yeah, but to be fair, people are forgetting the Masternak fight. Masternak was dominating Chris Billum Smith.
About 85 years old.
He was, yeah, I agree, yeah. So, was it just a case of Billum Smith made Riakporhe look bad? But for me, Riakporhe let himself down badly, whereas we're hyping Chris Billum Smith a little bit more, but we have got to think about fights like the Masternak. The Masternak fight, he was exposed a little bit in that fight, and he got away with it really in that fight.
He's very lucky. He's in an absolute dog shite of a division. It's the worst division in British boxing for me. In world boxing, it's an awful division.
Mm.
So
Opatari Street's ahead for me.
Oh yeah.
So sorry if I'm not doing a rain down and winning, but I'll keep my powder dry on him because I think he's going to get sparked out first time he jumps in.
I don't think we'll ever see the Opataya fight.
You know,
and the reason is because I think he'll lose before he gets there, because I think there's somebody else who was on that card that will take the world title off him.
Go on.
I believe Jack Massey will take the world title off him. And I believe Boxer have always planned it like that. I believe they've given him the fights they do. And I believe eventually, and it might not be the next fight. It might be 2 or 3 down the line. But I believe Massey will take the world title off him. I'm not saying Massey will beat Opataya, by the way, because he won't. But I think he'll be the one that ends up fighting Opataya.
With all due respect to Jack Massey, the fact that you think he can beat CBS tells you the level you think CBS is at.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but I think Massey. Neither of them are world class, but I think Massey potentially could be world level, not world class. Whereas I'm not. CBS for me has only ever been fringe world level, and as I think Carl said earlier, it's a very weak division worldwide. It's a very weak division, with the exception of Opataya, who I actually think, probably would do okay in any era.
Yeah, and Zordo as well. Zordo's not bad. And if they go down that route,
Zordo's not bad. I'll give you that.
Yeah. If they make that fight next for Billum Smith, that'll be where you really find out how good he can be, or if that is just level above. And I think that's probably the route.
If they make that fight for Billum Smith next, we might not even get the Massey Billum Smith fight because I don't know if he beats Zordo.
I think Zordo would be way too good for him.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see Zordo and Opataya come to that.
Stylistically, though, Jack Massey and Chris Billum Smith are going to be great to watch.
No, God,
no, not particularly, but I still think
it's going to be.
Chris Billum
it's going to be a fight of attrition, isn't it? It's going to be who lasts. It's going to be who lasts longest, who's got the best chin, who's got the better engine. It's bound to go 12 rounds because neither of them are going to get knocked out.
That'll be Chris Billum.
Yeah,
that'll be Chris Billum Smith triple fight on the trot where it's been an absolute stinker because he's had a Coley, Riakporhe, and then he'll have Massey.
The thing is though, that's his style to a point, Darren. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. He makes it difficult. That's what he does. He makes it difficult. And if you're not capable as a fighter of thinking outside your little box and coming up with something that's gonna take him out of that rhythm, then he's capable of doing that to most fighters.
He's gonna get his head absolutely punched off by a world-class operator because all he does is come forward, take shots with his face. So let's not be pretending it's difficult to knock out his rhythm. He's beating with bang average fighters. Jai Opataya would absolutely pling his head around for 12 rounds. Let's not bullshit rhythm talk that he talks. He comes forward.
I don't disagree with you that Jai Opataya beats him. I don't disagree with you. He's the best in the division by a country mile. I completely agree. All I'm saying to you is, you've already said it yourself. It's not the best division in the world. And apart from Jai Opataya, he's capable of beating anybody else because of the style he has.
I don't know, Zordo
possibly. But even it,
I would still say
maybe Jack, maybe. But that's one That's what I'd have a question mark against.
Well, yeah, because we haven't really seen Zerdo.
I think
Yeah.
because he's not a slick fighter, because he's not got great movement and the best jab in the world, and he's not got knockout reels. I think it's easy to knock him. It's easy to say he's shit. It's easy to say that he gets absolutely battered by anybody else that's with any skill. It's easy to say that because of his style. His style's not great. You've got to give him credit for the attributes he's got.
Oh,
because he's beat everyone that's been put in front of him. Simple as that.
Well, if you look at it really as well,
that's all I can really say.
We all know that Lawrence Okoli is an ugly fighter to watch, but obviously he done what he done last time in his Bridgerweight world title fight. But Chris Billam-Smith made Lawrence Okoli look even worse than what he is. He's now made Richard Riakporhe look terrible. Richard Riakporhe isn't really a fighter that comes and holds the way he was. Is that Chris Billam-Smith making them look that way? That's what you've got to ask yourself.
That's my point, Darren.
He's making
that's my
every
point.
fighter look. Yeah, he's making every fighter look terrible, like ugly to watch. But is it, like you say, is that Billam-Smith?
That's my point.
Making, yeah.
It's a valid point as well.
Yeah, it is.
And
it's going to take somebody of the highest caliber to not fall into that trap.
by
Which
the
I
way,
think I could tell you.
somebody said earlier about the atmosphere. It wasn't that bad. I was there. I've been.
Well, it looked bad on TV, Jack.
What?
It looked bad on TV, mate.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't full, but it wasn't bad, and it didn't sound that bad in the stadium. It actually sounded all right.
The problem
There
you've
was a lovely moment of unity where everyone just abused Scottish people. That was great.
Jack, the problem you've got.
Main event.
The problem you got, Jack, with open air venues is unless it's absolutely rammed. Yeah, the sound goes up. Unless it's absolutely rammed, the noise disappears.
Yeah,
It happens
true.
at every open air venue if it's not on it, and if the crowd are not on it all night long, it sounds bad on TV.
I compare it to the Warrington.
Myself and Carl have been to two.
I've been to. I think this is the.
Myself and Carl have been to two. We went to Goodison Park for Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
And then we went to Sheffield United. And both of those had similar sort of vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They had similar sort of vibes, and the Brook one was a decent atmosphere because it had a very mixed crowd. Yeah. But you get spells in any sort of venue like that where the noise just goes.
And it can be achieved without opening all stands because all stands weren't open at Bramall Lane that night.
The top tiers were closed, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be achieved.
What? Just quickly about the stadium fights as well. The Zach Chelly one next time. They've only got one stand open for that fight. Oh well.
Yeah, and
7,000 tickets
7,000
maximum.
do you want to know something about that? They've really messed up there.
Oh well, no, that.
Three quarters of the tickets are already sold out because Barnsley season ticket holders have already taken them all. So they could have opened another stand for that.
Well, surely they still can.
They
probably
will. It's like with football with away allocations. If you sell out, then they just add more tickets on. So
I feel like they're going to have to. But they
I'm not sure, guys. I'm not actually sure they can. I think it's limited. I think there's a reason why they can only sell that amount of tickets.
Normally in the safety.
I might be wrong, but I'm sure I've heard that.
I'll tell you what the I know the reason it's limited.
I think they sold 5,000 plus on early on pre-sale today.
Yeah, normally they've got an agreement with the council around safety certificate, and that's where it stipulates what the maximum attendance is.
It's not that. It's because Barnsley only have 10 days between that and their home game. Then they're not allowing any seats on the pitch.
So that wouldn't be in the safety certificate, then, Jack? No.
No, it's to do, and it's just an agreement they've got with the ground. So they're allowed to do it safety-wise. Although I do think they're only max allowed to have 3 stands open for the safety side, but they're not allowed any seats at all on the ringside on the pitch.
What's the point in that then?
Oh,
You
it's
mentioned
just-
split in the arena.
Pass.
why do they keep doing this? Boxer,
Well,
like, you know.
Daz, what's the point in having it at Oakwell then? Why not go to
Yeah.
some? There's plenty of
Yeah,
arenas. in
not
South
a clue.
Africa.
Totally agree.
Jack.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know why they're obsessed with football stadiums for some reason. Are they trying to just be different or something? I don't know what it is. But
I mean, Frank
like, we
Warren
walk-
started all this
I think-
off, didn't he, when he did Billy Joe Saunders at Stevenage for some random reason, because he's from near
Is it-
there.
Is it any
When it
indoor
works really well,
arena-
guys. When it works really well, it's great.
Jack,
Yeah.
is it any indoor arena for 4,000, 5,000 in Barnsley?
No.
Maybe not
Okay.
Barnsley
The nearest,
or Can, but
No.
you have in South
the
Yorkshire.
nearest one would be Leeds.
You do Leeds. yeah.
Okay.
You would have to do Leeds.
Well, what about
Well,
Sheffield, Jack? Because Sheffield,
Oh yeah,
South Yorkshire.
Sheffield's
I
closer,
don't
isn't it?
think
Yeah,
it's
Sheffield.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a bit
Yeah.
closer.
Yeah, sorry, my geography's not great, mate, when it comes to Yorkshire. I'll be
No,
But
honest.
how's that going to look on TV with no seats ringside? What's it?
I don't
You'll
know.
have to
They'll
do what-
probably
you'll have
figure it
to- you'll
out.
have to do what they do in Villa Park and have some imaginary.
Well, they'll have to.
You know what I mean?
We fill 42,000, so it's a bit different.
Yeah. Only when you play United and big teams like Liverpool.
I don't know, but like, it's just.
It's going to be some very good camera trickery, guys, isn't it? Let's say that.
I mean,
Not like they-
I don't know how Barnsley's. Is set
Right, let's
out,
get back.
so-
Sorry, let's get back on. Jack, let's get back on track, mate. We're going to come on to Shelley and Simpson later on, and we'll pick this up a bit later on. Let's get back onto what we were talking about, which is last weekend's card. We've kind of covered Jack Massey, so I think we'll leave that one alone. Other than to say Isaac Chamberlain was absolutely shocking.
Yes.
Common theme, this is.
Well, he was, mate. He was absolutely shocking. I said he flatters to deceive. I said Jack Massey would take it, but I wasn't expecting Chamberlain to be as bad as that. He was dreadful. He got no spite in him, got no fight in him. I don't know if any of you want to say anything on that before we move on to Ben
Yeah,
Whittaker.
I do. I think we all better calm down about Jack Massey and starting doing rain dances in the street because, like you said, Chamberlain was absolutely dreadful. So let's not all get carried away, you know. So although Massey was decent, Chamberlain was absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, he
It's
was.
the best part on the
Can I
card,
get in?
though.
Not all day, Dad, is it?
No, definitely not.
Can I get in the Massey fight?
Yeah.
Go on.
Of course you can, mate.
I did predict a stoppage for Massey, but I had Massey winning the fight beforehand on the show last week. And,
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't a surprise that Massey won, and I was happy for him that he got this fight on 4 weeks' notice when Sislak pulled out through injury.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it was too much of a surprise for Cam. I think a lot of us called it for Jack Massey, but just completely shocked at how lackluster Chamberlain was.
yes,
I don't know what these guys are doing. React poor, really, really, really poor. Chamberlain really, really poor. I just don't understand it. I don't get what's happened in camp that they're coming in so flat on fight night.
React
I don't know.
Really,
Odd one for me.
has always really struggled to make Cruiser.
Well, then why hang around at the division then? 'Cause he's hardly
I don't know.
fire,
I'm
is
not
it,
his
in
coach.
the division?
I'm not his coach. I just know that he struggles to make.
Well, that might be part of the problem.
Yeah.
Might be part of the problem there, Jack. But as Cole said, why stay there then?
That's a question.
I don't know. By all accounts, I forgot to say this, guys. By all accounts, there's been an interview or a couple of interviews done with Ben Shalom. He reckons that Riyadpour pulled a muscle, a pec muscle, and that's why he wasn't throwing his right hand. Now, whether that happened in the fight, prior to the fight, who knows?
Let's hope we don't see
But that's the
another
excuse
rematch.
that's been touted about. Nah, well, I can't imagine that happening, mate.
Good evening, Jams. Thanks for your comments.
Stop biting.
moving swiftly on, guys, to the enigma that is Ben Whittaker.
Oh,
This of all the fights on the card, this was the one I was looking forward to the most. And I don't know. I'm not convinced that Ben Whittaker can go. It's all right, Joe. You just talk over me, mate. Carry on.
Sorry, before we just go into the actual fight, I just want to address something. Did anyone see the T-shirts from in the corner?
I don't remember him if I did.
For
Why?
who?
They're
For who, Jack?
for Whittaker's team, and Whittaker himself when he was walking to the ring. They had they had a T-shirt on that said "Body Bag Season." Now, I just want to say how disgraceful that is, especially as fighters have recently passed away in the ring. And I just wanted to address that because on a public thing, because as someone who works in boxing, that's our worst nightmare.
Well, it didn't land
You're
with me.
making a joke of that.
It didn't land with me, so it wasn't that good a campaign, was it? Because I didn't recognise it, to be honest.
It went
No, I
trending
didn't either. I didn't see it
on the night. Yeah, so I just thought I'd
Okay.
address that.
I mean, you do get some bad taste in boxing. That's obviously.
Yeah.
Give it Orkan first. Let Orkan break it down. He's a lot more positive than the rest of us.
Yeah, I mean, Orkan. We've seen Ben Whittaker now. We've seen this showboating. We've seen the skill. My question is, Orkan, does Ben Whittaker have the power to trouble any of the top guys in the division?
No, I don't think so. I have been very disappointed with Ben Whittaker's last two fights. So I think he could. I think Shaken Peters may be a good fight next, or Dan Aziz, who
I'll
looked
go that one.
average at Sellers Park. So I want to see him against a better opposition now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't even trouble Ezra really in the fight. I mean, and he didn't like it when it was put back on him when he was doing that little bit of showboating. I know that what Ezra did with his head and his elbow weren't great, but someone actually put it back on him a little bit and he didn't like it. He also, guys, Darren, I'll come to you. He also does not like when anybody says anything negative about his performance, and it happened with Andy Clark last time out. He put it on Andy Clark because he didn't like what Andy Clark had said about him, and he got a bit spiky in the post-fight interview this time round because he didn't like a little bit of what was said that his opponent had a bit of success. I kind of get the feeling he's a kid that likes the attention, but when you get the attention, you've got to expect the negativity to come with it, right, Darren?
Yep, totally agree, and I do agree with you on that you've got to expect it back, and he doesn't like it. That's a fact. You can tell that. I'm actually a Ben Whittaker fan, but he does lack power. You can see that. There's no doubt about that. And I do think they have got to start stepping him up more now, because even for me as a fan, it's starting to get a little bit boring with the same old kind of opponents where he's just dominating them and doing what he's doing. Okay, he nearly got a stoppage in the last round, but okay, Dan Aziz on that card wasn't very impressive, and he should have won that fight. He got a draw, and he's perhaps lucky with that. But I feel like Dan Aziz at this time would be a very good fight for him. But they've got to step him up for me, because he's obviously coasting through fights the way he is with the level of his opponents he's been given. And if they carry on like that, for the people that like him, like me, it's quickly going to become pretty boring to watch. So there's got to be a step up pretty swiftly, I feel.
Harrison, are you feeling the same way as Darren, or do you think Ben Whittaker gets through most levels in this division on pure boxing ability.
With the scene at the minute with light heavyweight domestically, probably. But I do agree with quite a lot of things Darren said there, that for as good as he can be and the operation that he's going at this level, he's always going to look quite good. He's never going to be in trouble, which allows for that sort of showboat and entertaining style. But then that's gone quite dramatically downhill in the last couple of fights when he's had a chance to showcase and opportune himself. We've been stuck in fights really where he hasn't done a lot of that, or if he has been doing it, it's not been at the same level as the first few professional fights he has. It was good that we got our MMA fix in on Saturday night, because that was a really horrible fight to watch. Headbutts, elbows, you name it, it had it. It was it was a really poor fight, and that's, I suppose, a credit really to his opponent as well, because you could see he was being quite frustrated and quite put out of his comfort zone. So it wasn't a great fight to watch. It wasn't what I was expecting from Ben Whittaker. But back to your question, yeah, he'll be fine through these levels, but he is now at that step-up level. We're probably going to see a new promotional deal with him now in the next however long, whether it's with Boxer or somebody else. That's quite an exciting thing to see where he goes. I think he's literally to a T suited to Matchroom, personally. And I know I'd have a bias to say that, but I really do think that Eddie Hearn and that promotion can get the best out of him. They'll mature him before they turn him into a superstar, which I feel with Boxer, they're just a bit loose with him really at the minute. They don't have a direction. He'll probably be on that Barnsley build that Zach Chelly's headlining. But yeah, I don't know. I like Ben Whittaker, but I do need to see a step up from him next time out.
Carl, you mentioned it last week that you think that he's likely to go to Matchroom. Is Eddie Hearn really going to rush to get him when he knows he can't punch?
Well, if that was an audition for Matchroom on Saturday night, I mean, I'm not sure about his power, if I'm honest. And Carwin in the comments says, why do you think there's no power? So I'll leave you to answer that afterwards. I think he will go to Matchroom. I think he's being poorly matched by Boxer. I would have had him up a few more levels by now, if you know, and I think he would be if Matchroom were in charge of his career. Boxer have not got a particularly great record of developing fighters, right? They have fighters that come over from other promotional outfits and put on the odd big fight. But listen, I like Ben Shalom. I thought he's a breath of fresh air, but you know, he's had time now. We can no longer keep saying that he's a new promoter on the block, right? He's got some hurdles to get over in the next couple of months because the Sky deal's up for grabs. Obviously, GBM are now with his own, so I'm sure he's quite reassured by that. But who knows what Sky budget's going to look like for the next 12 months? So he's got that to get over. I think he's going to lose the jewel in his crown by Whittaker. Whittaker, I think, will end up at Matchroom. And then, with all due respect to Boxer, you look at the stable and you think, wow, you know, where's the next superstar coming from? Where's the next star coming from? I find Shalom's strategy all over the place. He come into the sport saying that he wanted to hold hands with other promoters and sing Kumbaya and be the promoter that works with other promoters, and he finds himself on the outside of the Saudi deal. He's got a big problem with Matchroom in Queensbury now being in affiliation because it seems he's frozen out from that up to now. Let's see what the Wembley card holds. But coming back to Whittaker, I think he's
not totally frozen out though, Carl, because Piccoli's on the Riyadh season card in America.
So he's got one fight and then Jack.
Well, either he's got one fighter or Belly Nelson's just really friendly with Turki Al Sheikh. One of the two.
Well, let's put it this way: he's hardly working hand in glove with the Riyadh season, is it? That's the point I'm making. So
no.
I think he's got some challenges. But coming back to Whittaker, it's all there, I believe. I just think his career is being mismanaged, and that's a strong phrase, but I do generally believe he's being mismanaged. He's in with opponents that are turning him off to the British boxing public. So, yeah, I think he will leave for Matchroom. Yeah, very interesting.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to shoot, but before I go, I will tell you to watch out for one person that boxed on the very first card. It wasn't actually on TV, but it was on the YouTube bit of the show on Saturday. Watch out for the name Louis Pockety. He's an 18-year-old. He's only about 15 stone at the minute, but he'll grow into being a proper heavyweight. And he stopped his opponent in 26 seconds. I was the matchmaker on the fight, and trust me, nobody wants to fight this guy.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out. Cheers for joining, Jack.
Cheers.
Corwin, good evening.
Evening, lads. How are we doing?
Nice to see you got a Matchroom t-shirt on there. Other promoters are available.
Yeah. I forgot I've got that one.
You know, coming on here advertising Matchroom, we have to remain neutral. So, give us your thoughts on Whittaker. Can you put a comment in the side questioning that he actually does have power?
Well, it's not so much. It's more so to do with the style that he is using that's made him go viral. Is also the reason he's not punching hard, because to be that elusive means you don't plant your feet to put power in your shots. And that's the paradox. The thing that's making everyone talk about him is the reason that they're talking about him for different reasons now. So first it was he's so elusive, he's so viral, he's so skillful, this, that. Now it's he's got no power. It's catch-22.
Yeah.
So if you did
I get that, Colin. I get that, mate. I get exactly what you're saying there. Understand it. You know, unless you're a very, very powerful or very heavy-handed fighter, and you fight with that style, you don't get many knockouts in your career. I get that, but if he's not planting his feet against the fighters he's fighting now and knocking people out, he ain't doing it at world level.
No.
Yeah, but he might. Yeah, but obviously, if he steps up, he might have to change the way he fights. So it might happen. It's probably going to have to happen.
The likelihood is,
The
Darren, he'll become even more elusive because he's going to come up against fighters that can walk through what he's giving.
The thing is, though, like I you know, the power thing is a big thing in the modern game. But there's been lots of fighters who have won world titles by being so elusive and not having that power.
Devin Haney, I'd have likened him to Devin Haney if he stopped all the silly messing around in the ring. If he just showing what he's got in terms of put it and don't be hit, you know, the sweet science, and we'd have a different opinion of him.
Yeah.
People appreciate that skill when you're against high-level opposition. You know, when Mayweather was making people miss and making them pay for 12 rounds. You appreciate that when it's Miguel Cotto on the other side. You don't appreciate it when it's some lad who's got a full-time job and he's been called in at 6 days' notice. I think that's where the divide is coming from.
Yeah, he should be making a statement against them. I definitely do agree against them guys that, like, you would think he'd be trying to make a statement, but you can tell he's happy to get the rounds in that. You can tell he's happy to do that, which, you know, is becoming a little bit tedious and boring against these.
Not very fan friendly, is it, Daz? Let's be honest.
No, not at all. And like I say, I'm a fan of him, but even I'm starting to think, okay, this is getting a bit boring now, the way it's going.
Yeah. Well, Colin, thank you for jumping on. I can see you're busy at the minute from where you are in terms of location, mate. So thank you for jumping on. All right, we'll catch you soon, fella.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good day. I just thought I'd jump on because I thought when I asked for a question, I thought I'll just jump in and explain it from someone having boxed. When I was trying to be elusive, I had no power. When I sit down and plant my feet and stay in range, you can hit a lot harder. So you're kind of tossing off. That's probably the
Colin, just before you go, Colin, just before you go, mate.
Yeah.
Given the opinion you've just given there, which mate, I'll stand corrected if that happens. Who would you put Ben Whittaker in with next, and then maybe the next two fights after that?
I think Shakan Pitters is a pretty good option. He doesn't need to be held back. He's got amateur pedigree. You know, when you've boxed up that level in the amateurs, he's got the rounds in now. He's done his learning. I'd probably think Shakan Pitters, and if he comes through that pretty smoothly, maybe a Dan Aziz.
Yeah.
He needs needs tests, and Dan Aziz especially. He will need to punch with a little bit of force and stand his ground at times to keep him off, which is perfect to silence the critics for what we're criticizing him for right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Colin, you'll have to join us on the show in the next.
Well, nice one, man. Thanks for joining.
Okay, cool, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Yeah, mate.
Okay, guys, moving swiftly on. we've talked a little bit about Dan Aziz and his poor performance, so we'll leave that one alone, and we'll go to the last one that I'm going to talk about on this card from last week, and that's Fran Hennessy. I didn't see this fight, but by all accounts, she didn't have it all her own way. Is that right? I'll come to you. Sorry, I don't know who would have seen this. Håkan, did you see this fight?
Yeah, I watched the fight, and I agree with the referee's scorecard that it was pretty close, the fight. But Dorota Norik is a good operator at this level. We saw her against Stevie Levy in Sheffield on the GBM show. So it was a step up for Fran from the fights before, and so I think it was a good fight for Fran to take at this point of her career.
Carl, she's got plenty of time here, right? There's no rush.
Yeah, I quite like Fran Hennessy. I like the product that is Fran Hennessy. I think she's very good in front of the camera. She's a very good talker. She really sells herself well. This wasn't a war by any stretch, but it's shown that she can dig down and come through a little bit of adversity. That means danger for some people if I'm using big words. Sorry about that. Well, I'm in a mood tonight, aren't I? So, let's get it right. She's doing what she should be doing at this stage, so she's expected to win. But no, another tick box really, and she's nice and active, isn't she? She's out regular, so it's another one. If another fighter I could see being poached by another promoter before long, if I'm honest. I know Mick Ennis is obviously managing her, but she's ultimately going to go where the dough is, like all fighters. So, you know, many more performances like this, and I think it could be another DAZN contract.
Can you see her going to Matchroom? Could you see her going to GBM?
Well, I think the likely I quite fancy Queensborough, if I'm honest. I think it could be Queensborough, but let's see.
Harrison, you got anything else to add to that about Fran that Cole's just said?
I think he got it really spot on. I only seen the last round of the fight because I was rushing back like a lunatic from Chester on the Saturday. But I do think that she's very, very marketable, and she's in a perfect position. Maybe not promotionally wise, but in terms of the state of if she's going to stay around that super bantamweight limit at the minute, it's so dry in the women's sport. Like, it may be a bit harsh to say that, but I think there's going to be so many opportunities for her to be fast tracked to. Maybe they'll make a British title for that division, or possibly she'll just go on to world honours very, very quickly. Yeah, I think she's a good fit at Matchroom, as she would be, I think, of anybody. I think that Matchroom have always done a really good job with their female athletes, so I think that makes sense, to be honest. They'll matchmake her a lot better than Boxer are able to at the minute. She seemed to be in a bit of trouble on Saturday night, but like you said, there's no reason to start panicking. It was her fourth professional fight, so she'll come on really well from this, I think.
Okay, guys.
Moving
swiftly on then, Carl.
One last thing. It was good to see Buddy McGirt getting the respect in Dan Aziz's corner. If anyone listens to that corner work from Buddy McGirt, Dan Aziz was calling him sir, and also he was absolutely telling him exactly how it was. And all I could keep thinking was Tyson Fury could really do with Buddy McGirt in his corner.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent demonstration from a world-class coach. I've always thought he's world-class anyway, but he was telling Aziz exactly what the state of play was. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I thought Buddy McGirt did an excellent job in the corner. Moving on. So we'll move on to Tank Davis next. So
take it away, Carl.
Early hours of Sunday morning. Another win for Tank Davis, a very impressive win. Now, Håkan, I know from your Twitter comments that you watched this fight, so I'm going to come to you first. So give us your thought on Tank.
I have to disappoint you. I was up all night, but I watched the Puerto Rico card that I had a on my DAZN subscription.
So I got your
and
tweets-
not paid for the pay-per-view.
Then, Håkan. I got your tweets mistaken. So, Daz, did you watch the fight?
Yeah, but I have watched a lot of parts of the fight,
So what you killing me for then?
but I didn't pay for it.
So,
Don't say that.
So,
so you have seen the majority of the fight. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll edit that first bit out then, because obviously I'm not sure what you're on about. So give us your thought on the fight.
I think Martin was of that I have seen on the fight. I think Martin was good. Was a good opponent for him, but Tank always breaks down the opponents. And then it was a very good finish by Tank when he finished Martin in the 8th round.
The uppercut was beautiful, wasn't it, Håkan?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Daz.
I've watched. To be honest, mainly highlights of the fight, but obviously you get to see what you need to see.
Yeah.
I think he's devastating. I do, Tank Davis. I think he's brilliant to watch, and I feel like he's one of them fighters we're going to look back over the years where we're going to have a major knockout reel for him, like you had with Povetkin at heavyweight. All of his knockouts were like sublime that you used to see. But yeah, I think he's absolutely superb. I do, Tank Davis, and he's the way he finishes a fight, he's a killer, and I think he's one of the best in the world, definitely.
If we had a magic wand then, Daz, because there's a lot of killers at that weight. If I had a magic wand, who would you have him in with next?
Don't know, to be honest. Who would you go for? Who would you?
People laugh at. I quite like the Pitbull Cruz fight. I quite like the way he's relentlessly coming forward, and he's going to ask. For as long as it lasts, he's going to ask Tank some questions. You got your obvious one, Roma, Shakur Stevenson.
I was going to say Shakur Stevenson. Yeah, that'd be a great fight. But I think what you need with someone with Tank Davis, it's one of them where you look at him like, how do you beat him? He's a very, very like you look at certain fighters, think, oh, you need this to beat this fighter. But he is one of them fighters, I think. How do you beat him? Because he's got everything for me. He can box.
Shakur might keep him on the outside. I think that's the only chance you've got. Keep him at range if you can.
Hard task. Yeah, that's it. I mean, for me, I think he could. I think he could go unbeaten. I think he's that good.
I'll come to Harrison next then. So Harrison, over to you.
You've come to me last. I'm the only one who watched the fight and legally as well. Just for further
Hold on a minute, that's a strong statement. They might have watched it on YouTube highlights on PBC.
Wow. Wow.
Did you order PBC on Prime?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Legally.
So I'll just drop the word allegedly in that for you, okay? Before Davin starts drawing up the legal papers.
That's good of you. What did you ask again?
So just break the fight down for us, and where would you take him next?
A lot of credit has to go to Frank Martin. That's where you have to start with this, because not a lot of people had him as sort of just a punching bag for Tank for the entire time that he was in there. But for those first couple of rounds, he did have success. Now, I know that Tank obviously builds into his fights, and he very much like Floyd used to be, will give away the first few rounds to really take that super analysis in. But Frank Martin had a lot of success. I don't get excited for anyone more in the States now than I do for a Tank Davis fight. I think the whole promotion and the build around him, and then when the show itself is on and when he's boxing, it's given me that sort of Mayweather-esque buzz that I used to get when I was younger. And there is just something so incredibly elusive and exciting about him. And his finishing, like Darren said, you could make a compilation of his last 12 or 13 knockouts, and they're sublime. And that uppercut, once again, his power for a lightweight. I can't remember a lightweight who hits as hard as him. But the only one who comes to mind is Isaac Cruz, who he's already gotten rid of. So there's something really, really special about him. where he
KOs in a
goes.
row. 4
What do you say,
KOs in a
sorry?
row. 4 KOs in a row. Knockouts in a row.
Yeah,
28
exactly.
knockouts
So,
in his career. Wow.
not but what he's the. I think Brian Costa said he's the third highest active knockout champion behind Beterbiev and somebody else. Yeah, incredible. And I think Brian Costa as well, when he closed that broadcast out, was perfect because he said not a lot of people have Tank Davis in their top 10 pound for pound lists. And I think that has to be something we take going forward, to be honest with you, because he's in mine. He has to be in mine because he's not just done it at lightweight. He's gone up to 140. He's won divisions below. He's beaten everybody, and he's got a really good resume as well. Frank Martin's nothing to write home about, but, you know, he's beaten some top operators, and he'll be asked to beat more again. I think the best fight for him is Lomachenko, because that's someone who really, really will test him. Because we know how awkward Loma is, how brilliant he can be. Loma won't give him those early rounds either. He'll be on him from the get-go, and that's where we'll really start to see Tank come under pressure. I still think Tank wins that fight, but I just think Lomachenko is the best for him. If not, I agree with you. I think Isaac Cruz at 140 pounds is a great fight because Cruz can bang. And I think that's a really good rematch. But I think it makes more sense at super lightweight, to be honest.
You know, one thing that struck me as well, Alison, because I also watched it live and legally, I might add, is how humble he was in the post-fight press conference. I just wonder whether this is a slight different tactic. He spoke about changing his attitude to life. And I wonder whether he might become even more marketable if he becomes a bit more humble.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a bit of an ultra maturity from him in the last 12 months. For a guy who was in prison right after that high of beating Ryan Garcia to then establishing himself and finding his family and his ways again, it's been amazing to see that, because a lot of people thought, well, that's him finished. We've lost a real superstar here, but he's come back. And like I said on the show last week, we talked about him having to move promotions or whatever. Look at the way the show was produced on Saturday night. It was all about Tank. We had some great undercard action as well. We had, Benavidez making his debut at 75, amongst other things, but none of that mattered because it was all about Tank. His ring walk was incredible. His performance was exceptional. His press conference afterwards was sublime. That's a true 10 out of 10 for me.
Andy, did you watch the fight? Have you seen it?
I've seen highlights of it, mate. Enough to be able to give my opinion.
Yep.
I echo what Harrison said about the Mayweather vibe. It's basically the Mayweather's model. Mayweather's taken it and he's basically handed it to Tank and gone, there you go. That's how we need to build you. That's how we need to show you on fights. And you're right. It is very good. It is very good. But I'll echo kind of what I said last week, and that is, are they capable of working with other promoters to make these big fights happen? That's my only concern, and that's my only concern that's going to keep Tank away from being a pound for pound great. What I will say is this: everyone talks about his power. No one talks about his ring IQ. The reason he's able to land those shots is because he works fighters out. He works patterns out, and he waits for his opportunity. That's why he gives the first couple of rounds away. He looks at the patterns that the fighters throw in, and he sees an opportunity, and that's how he lands the big shots. The guy's so good in so many ways.
Yeah.
My concern, like I've just said, I'll echo it again. Go on.
Oh, sorry, you're on a bit of a delay there. I didn't want to talk over you. No, I just wanted to say that you're absolutely spot on there about the interference of working with other promoters, because PBC's bubble has grown and grown and expanded, where not necessarily cherry picking fights, but they hate losing the titles. What we really need to see now for this division to not go stale is the WBC to force some sort of mandatory or something, and for this to go to purse bids. But the thing is, if this does go to purse bids, I guarantee you PBC will not lose it. They will not have Tank go and fight over on ESPN. Or DAZN. It just is not.
They won't let him fight on other. No, you're right. They won't let him fight on another promotion, mate. That's my concern.
I think they're in a bit of a conundrum though, because Tank will want the biggest fights, obviously, and you've got I believe if PBC.
I'm not convinced, Carl, because he doesn't need to, because of the money he's getting now.
I don't think it's about the money with him now. It's about the legacy. I genuinely think it's about the legacy, and I think you can see other fighters earning a lot of money and solidifying their legacy. And let's not forget, you got Turki Al-Sheikh in the mix now. It's a very different landscape in boxing. So, if there's enough green green on the table, it'll happen, won't it? Let's be honest. I.e. Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren working together. I'm sure if that can happen, PBC can work with other promoters.
I think it's more difficult for Al Heyman and Bob Arum to get sat around the table personally, because their history
100%.
goes.
Well,
Yeah.
I think they'll lose Tank there. I think they'll lose him as a fighter, because I genuinely believe he's putting a lot of emphasis on legacy now. How much more money does this guy need?
No, you're right. It's not about money for him, and like Top Rank won't have to offer him a money deal. They'll have to offer him something that is right for him promotionally, where they're guaranteeing him you're going to fight this person first, this second, this third. Sort of like we've seen those deals plenty in the past. Like Bivol was promised.
Do you really think that Tank Davis is going to allow them to step in his way if they want him to fight on a Riyadh season for God knows, against a legacy-defining fight? Do you really think Tank will allow them to stand in his way?
I think PBC will interfere. I really do, because
they'll lose him then, won't they? They'll lose him.
They may lose him, because if PBC are so, and they don't like, and you noticed it from watching it, they don't accept any of this Saudi stuff at all. They refuse to talk about it. They're really, really against it, because obviously they're the big promoter in the States, and they have been for like years and years. It's going back to Mayweather and before that. So you're right in that aspect. Yes, they may lose Tank, but I refuse to believe that PBC don't have a bit of a strangle over him in some sense. They must do. I don't think he's on a fight for fight contract either. I think that he's probably locked in for at least 2 or 3 more fights with PBC. No. So I just think that we're going to have to go way too down the line to lose Tank to Saudi, personally.
Yeah, well, let's see how it plays out. Because I believe PBC will end up working in collaboration with Saudi, because he'll get left behind if not. That's the truth of it.
Hopefully.
Okay, moving on. So obviously this weekend, Mr. Ashton's going on to this fight in his motherland of Birmingham. Is it the World Resorts Centre, Darren? Have I given that the justice it deserves?
Resorts World Arena.
Close. So not a bad card. Andy, I'm sure you've got this written down. Bit of a trade card, this one, to be honest with you, in my view. But Andy, I'll hand it over to you. Have you got it written down, Andy?
I have, mate. Of course.
Okay, so
of course we're not going to go. We're not going to go right down the card, guys. We'll just pick we'll pick the main 3 fights. Start off with Lewis Crocker against Conor Walker. 10-rounder. Lewis Crocker is, in my opinion, one of the most improved fighters we've got. I think personally, I think this will be an easy night's work. But I'll cut Darren. You're going to the show. Give me your breakdown, mate.
I really rate Lewis Crocker, and they are like building this up as could be a close-ish fight, but because I think Lewis Crocker is that good, I think he'll pretty much dominate Conor Walker. To be honest, I think from what we've seen of him so far, I can't see anything. I don't know if he'll win by stoppage, but I think he'll definitely dominate on points if he doesn't stop him late. But I think it's like Carl said, I think the card's pretty decent, and there's a lot of fights on the card where can swing either way, which is what we like from domestic shows. But I do really rate Lewis Crocker, and I think he'll win comfortably, to what a lot of people think.
Harrison, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I'd agree, I think. But then I suppose Conor Walker's really put himself into the limelight. It's the Cyrus Patterson one that we all keep coming back to, because we at one stage were talking about him being, he's our next boy, isn't he? He's going to be the one that goes off and wins a world title. And then there was a bit of a freeze. But the thing is, the way that the division's sort of reassembled itself now nicely, I do think that we have got a really good star in our hands in Lewis Crocker. The Paddy Donovan fight, obviously people are talking about that a mile off, aren't they? But I don't know. There's something about Lewis Crocker that I really like. He's gone up the levels in the last couple of fights. That fight night last time out when he had Belfast behind him, he's got good support as well, like a really good support. I'd have people in that part of the world who've been going to his shows, and this is the perfect fight for him at this stage in his career as well, to really get a big audience, get a good win behind him. I think he'll stop Conor Walker as well. I really do. I'm impressed with his power at that level. So I think that he'll stop him, Conor Walker will give him a couple of rounds. He's a really well-respected domestic fighter, but for me, Lewis Crocker will get him out of there rounds 8 to 9, I think.
Orkan, have you seen much of Lewis Crocker?
Yeah. And I was very impressed with him, how easily he handled Felix in his last fight, who surprise beat Gary Kelly in Dublin, and so I rate Lewis Crocker very high. So I think Lewis Crocker will win on a late stoppage. And then I'm looking forward to the Paddy Donovan fight in Belfast in the autumn. And I plan to see that fight live in Belfast if he beat Conor Walker. I think that fight will be a massive fight for Belfast. And I think the atmosphere in Belfast for that fight, if it will happen, will be awesome. That's why I'm looking forward to head to Belfast for the first time for boxing if the fight happens.
It'll almost be a bit too good, to be honest with you, because obviously there's a massive, he's got that pro-Belfast crowd behind him, but then Paddy Donovan brings quite a big interest from the south of Ireland. And the thing is, you want to really cross your fingers here and just hope that Lewis Crocker gets through this fine, because if those two meet in Belfast, that will be bouncing.
Cole, anything else to add on this than the other boys already have?
I would add. This is a fine demonstration of matchmaking for a prospect. So I draw parallels with Ben Whittaker. What a job Eddie Hearn's doing with Crocker, right? You know, I think none of us can look at this and go, "What awful matchmaking this is." It makes sense why he's putting him in with him. So that's something I'd like to add there. I think this just demonstrates again the difference in levels of matchmaking. I'm not on commission to Matchroom. Which it was.
Okay, lads. Moving on to what is a very intriguing and I think going to be a barnstormer of a British and Commonwealth Superfly title fights. Shannon Ryan is trying to take away Emma Dolan's Commonwealth Superfly title. The British title is vacant. They've added this to the show. We've obviously seen Emma Dolan a number of times now, Carl, so I'll come to you first. How do you see the fight playing out?
I'm really trying to find a way where Emma Dolan wins this because I so wanted to win this fight. So I'm clutching at straws here. I've got notes saying Shannon Ryan's only gone over 10 rounds twice. Emma Dolan's gone over 3 times. Listen, Emma Dolan's ranger, right? She's got long levers. So, yeah, I'm gonna go. She's not meant to win this. Let's be right. Emma Dolan is not meant to win this fight, but I think she's gonna beat her, and I think she's gonna beat her over points. So I'm gonna go Emma Dolan beat Shannon Ryan over points. There you go. I think I've convinced
Harrison, what's your breakdown, mate?
You've done your Nottingham commission there very well, I suspect.
Yeah, thank you.
I have to burst the bubble a little bit, I think. And firstly, I should point a bit of praise to the British Boxing Board of Control here. It's fantastic to see another one of these belts being created for the division. We're getting to that stage now in British boxing where hopefully it's across the board in the next 2 or 3 years, but it's great to see that being fought for the first time. Yeah, I just think Shannon Ryan's a bit too good. But then again, I don't think it's a way and gone like I would with most female fights because there's such a distinct parallel of how good the British are against the others that come up. I don't think she's a million miles better than Emma Dolan, but I've only seen her fight once. I've seen all of Shannon Ryan's fights, but she's a very, very good technical boxer. She's one of those, not a lot of power in her hands, but then not what you'd expect, but her ring craft, her IQ, really top from what we've seen. She's not been in against great opposition. I suppose that's got to be pointed out. I know the last she beat last time I was undefeated, but there's a chance that Emma Dolan could cause a bit of an upset here. But I think everything's working in Shannon Ryan's favour for this one. I'm sure she'll have a bit of support up there as well, and I just think she's just a bit too good. She'll win this on points, but I don't think it'll be too wide.
Darren?
Yeah, I think obviously, we're going to see a distance fight, but I do think for what it'll be. I think it'll be an exciting fight. I think they'll both, come bring it to each other. I agree with Harrison a little bit. I would say that Shannon Ryan's got a little bit too much for Emma Dolan. And I think it'll probably be just a closest points decision. But I do think it'll be a very, very entertaining scrap because they'll both come forward, and I think it'll be a bit of a tear up, to be honest. But they both haven't got the power to sort of stop each other. But Shannon Ryan, close points.
Håkan, were you at the were you at the Emma Dolan Nicola Oatwell fight?
Yes, and I was very impressed with Emma Dolan in that fight in Sheffield last year, and I purchased my tickets through Nicola, so I was on Nicola's side beforehand for the fight, and met Nicola for the first time when I got the tickets through her. But I was very impressed with Emma in that fight. And my only concern for Emma Dolan is how her injury was when the fight was meant to be on the Next Gen show in London in February. And then I was at that show. And then Shannon Ryan fought Jasmina Sapotoshna, the Polish girl based in England. And Shannon Ryan was very... I was impressed with Shannon Ryan in that fight. So the concern for Emma Dolan is just she has been out now for a while, and that's my concern. And after the injury, so I think it will be a close fight, but I think Shannon Ryan wins on a close decision.
I don't think it was a physical injury, though.
Okay.
Håkan. I think it was an illness.
It
I think it
was
was an illness that was stopping the training. I think it was an illness that was stopping the training the way she needed to train for the fight.
Okay.
If I'm wrong on that, I apologise. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
I think you're right when you say, when I hear from you now that it was an illness. When you say it.
So I've got a completely different take to everybody else. I actually think that Emma Dolan's got all the tools to make this fight as easy or as hard as she wants to, and I'll tell you for why. So Carl mentioned that she's got levers, long levers, and she uses them really, really, really well. Shannon Ryan, as Harrison has already said, is a very skilled boxer. The problem that she's got is she's the way she fights is she's a compact fighter. She's going to have to try and get inside of Emma Dolan's levers. Now, Emma's very, very good at timing fights coming in. And the improvement that she's made under Carl Greaves in the last year and a half is staggering. From the fight that we saw on the early Carl Greaves show, where she won the Commonwealth title, to a year on, or maybe just less than a year on, when she fought Nicola Oatwell, was night and day. And she's had another 6 months on top of that now to work with Carl again on other things. And I actually think, yeah, you're right in what you're saying, that she's not meant to win this fight. You know, they bring her in for Shannon Ryan to be British champion and Commonwealth champion. I don't think it plays out like that at all. And like I say, as long as Emma Dolan sticks to what I believe the game plan will be, which will be keep along, tag her when she comes in. I think it's Emma's to lose. I'm picking Emma Dolan on points.
1-0 Scotland, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
what a way to ruin a good evening.
Own goal.
Own goal. Okay.
Yeah.
Still got
Sweden get. Oh, they're not there. Oh, they're never mind. Moving on. Sorry.
I'm just supporting the opposition to England. So when
That's
Sweden
not very nice, is
isn't
it?
there,
Supposed to love the us
That's
English.
That's because the way you put it on him the other day, Carl.
Well, what I said was factually true.
Anyway, back to the boxing. Seems though this is a boxing show.
Sorry.
Onto the headliner, main event. European champion, middleweight European champion, EBU Tyler Denny defends against Felix Cash. Straight off the bat, what a brilliant fight! And I'm sure we'll all break it down in different ways. I'm going to come to you first, Carl. Is this more about what Felix Cash turns up rather than what Tyler Denny can do?
Yes. If Felix Cash is anywhere near his best, he'll outclass Tyler Denny every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So, yeah, it's all about what I'll say what desire he's got left, because he's been very inactive, hasn't he? Through one reason and another. So if Felix Cash has got his head back in the game and he wants to prove a point, I think he'll prove a point in this fight. I'm going for him to stop Tyler Denny round 6. I think it'll be an easy night's work.
Harrison, Felix Cash hasn't fought for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And before that, he was very inactive. Fought twice in 2022, once in 21, once in 2020, and then twice in. It's not a very good recipe, is it, going into a fight like this?
Yeah, and it's been quite well documented, his sort of issues outside of the ring, and we obviously wish all boxers the absolute best, and that inactivity is going to play havoc to some extent, but whether or not Tyler Denny's good enough to cause enough fluctuation to really get Felix Cash off his best game is going to be another question. And I agree somewhat with Carl, because I do think Felix Cash, even with this long layoff and the problems, him on his day, he's a mile clear of the domestic scene for me personally. I know this is for the European title, but for me, Felix Cash is the best middleweight we have at current, with the fallout of Denzel Bentley and others. Really, really technically skilled boxer. Good enough hitter when he needs to be as well. He's got a bit of power about him and he could blast Tyler Denny out of there. But I think this for me is going to go for points, because I think Tyler Denny's good enough. He can take a punch and he's been good in recent fights, obviously doing that European title. But I think Felix Cash is just really, really exceptional. And I hope that he goes on to do bigger things, because I think the middleweight division at the minute, not that strong, to be completely honest. We've seen that on the PBC card on the other night. Carlos Adames not looking very good. So I think that Felix Cash will win this and hopefully go on to world honours then. But I think he'll win it on points.
Darren, come on. Let's hear it for Team Birmingham. Let's hear it for Team Denny. The positives for Denny is what a performance he had last time out. He is catching Felix Cash in a bit of a transition period. Am I right in thinking that he's no longer with Tony Sims? Before I say that, I think he's left Tony Sims, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he has. Yeah,
and that obviously that can always be a bit difficult for a fighter. That first fight with a new trainer. Break down the fight for me. You know, obviously, I'm sure in your heart you want Tyler Denny to come through the fight. How do you think it goes?
Well, I actually think you're all doing Tyler Denny a bit of discredit here. I think he's massively improved. We obviously know Felix Cash has been very inactive. It's not a guarantee how he's going to come back. He's had his mental health problems. You know, but glad he's over that now. But like Harrison said, you know, we don't know how he's going to come back. And with Tyler Denny's wins that he's had as of late, you know, his last few fights, I think that Tyler Denny could win this on points. I accept that Felix Cash on paper, you know, is the better fighter. The Denzel Bentley fight was along, 3 years ago or something now. But, you know, you look at some of the Tyler Denny's wins. He's had Brad Pauls on his record. Okay, he lost the majority decision to Linda Sedofia. But, you know, still a good name on the record. But the Brad Paul's fight, he fought really well against Nathan Heaney. He could have won that fight. And I just think the inactivity of Felix Cash really is going to play a part in this fight. As I think it's going to go a distance fight as the rounds start getting further and further in. He hasn't been in the ring for as long as we say. I think Tyler Denny will win it on a close points decision. I do. I think he's been given a bit of discredit here. I think it's a lot of a tougher fight for Felix Cash than people think.
Håkan, how do you break the fight down?
I was at the Tyler Dennis fight about a year ago in my only show in Birmingham when he fought McGowan. It was a very close fight, very good, very, very entertaining fight to watch. But the rest of the card was pretty boring on that night. And then when he won the European title against the Italian Signali. He was very, very impressed. I was very impressed with Tyler Denny in that fight. So I agree with Darren. I think that some people overlooked Denny. I think Cash, the old Felix Cash 2 years ago, before the layoff, wins this fight pretty easy. But I'm not sure about Felix Cash that when he has been out for so long. So I agree with Darren. I will go with a close decision for Tyler Denny.
I don't think it is my breakdown, guys. I don't think Felix Cash has been the same fighter since the Bentley fight. I saw him his last fight out in Leeds on the undercard to Warrington Lopez. He was dreadful because he couldn't blow the guy away. He had no plan B. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to deal with a guy when he couldn't put it on him. He didn't know what to do. He was lucky to get the decision. That was the night that Amo Williams was there on commentary because had Felix Cash looked really good that night, they were making the fight with Amo. That was the point. That was the point of him being there. They even had a little bit of a confrontation outside the ring afterwards. Obviously, things happen. People get injuries. He's now moved on from one training to another. I'm with Darren a little bit here. I think it's a closer fight than we all think in our heads and on paper because of what we've seen Felix Cash do in the past. He's been out a long time, guys. And the last time he was out, he was poor. So he's got to have improved massively and done a lot of work in camp to get anywhere near the level he was at previously. He might have the bit between his teeth and he might come storming out. I think it's going to be a very, very, very close fight. I think it will go to points. But I do think Felix Cash will have just enough to scrape a points victory. But there's a lot of questions for me. A lot of questions. And Denny's very capable of putting him under pressure and asking them. It's a very good fight. I think it'll be a very good fight. Very tactical from Tyler Denny's side. Felix Cash will try and put it on him. And it's whether he's capable of changing up his game plan to then come through the fight over 12 rounds for me. But yeah, I'm going to go Felix Cash just on points. Carl, was there another topic you wanted to bring up?
No, so I don't know if anyone wants to bring anything else up before we bring the show to an end.
Let's just, before we do go, we did speak about the Callum Simpson, Zach Chelly build-up and the fact that it was in Barnsley. What we didn't do, though, was give our opinions on how we think the fight goes. So, Carl, I'll come to you first. I know you're not a massive fan of Zach Chelly, are you?
No. Come back to me on this one. Come back to me. Let me give it some thought.
Harrison.
He's waiting for the wise words of May to then influence his opinion.
I've never done that up to now, Harrison, so I wouldn't start now, fella. You know what I mean?
No, I wouldn't either if I was listening to me.
I mean, what I'm going to do, Harrison, is whatever you choose, I'll go the other way because then I'll be proved right.
Yes, that's
Go on then, Harrison. Let's hear it.
I'm in a predicament because as a diehard Lancashire man, I never really like giving the other side of the Pennines the credit, but Callum Simpson really is just good. He turned too good as well. I think when we talk about the sort of the building up of boxer fighters, I'd agree with I think it was Carl who said it to some extent. They haven't match made their fighters all too well. The only ones really that to me have gone very well have been Adam Azim and Callum Simpson. They're the two who really strike the page for me. And I like Callum Simpson a lot to really take over this sort of super middleweight scene now domestically. Zach Shelley's so likable. Like, he's a really good fighter. And there was a long period where he had to play underdog because he was losing big fights, but then came back. And he's been in some really good scraps. But Callum Simpson really is so technically astute. He's got a massive following. We've seen that with the Barnsley boys. We've gone down south. And on a stage too, where he's going to get to fight at Oakwell, which means so much to him. I think everything just builds up. We didn't see that with Riakporhe at the weekend, but I think we will with Callum Simpson. And I think he's got the ability to blast Zach Shelley out of there as well. I think he's going to look really good in a couple of months' time when they get that on.
Okay, Darren?
It's 1-1 Switzerland, by the way. Great goal that was. I know.
Brilliant.
Back to the boxing.
Darren, stick to the boxing, please.
Sorry, mate. I actually like both Zach Shelley and Callum Simpson. I think Zach Shelley's such a likeable character as well. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Callum Simpson, but I do think he's going to have the boxing edge. But the one thing I like about Zach Shelley is he takes on all comers, and every time he steps in the ring, I mean, he lost to Mark Jeffers, but he always gives it his all. You can tell he's always fully focused in his fights. But I just think Callum Simpson's going to have a little bit too technical ability for him. But I think Callum Simpson will win on a unanimous decision.
Håkan?
I think that Callum Simpson wins this fight on a late stoppage and with a homecoming as with the Barnsley fans will help him to get that win.
Okay. I think Callum Simpson is capable of being a superstar. I think he's got all the tools. I think he's with the wrong promoter, so he's not likely to become a superstar. Zach Shelley is in very... I don't care, mate. I don't care. Zach Shelley is always in interesting fights because he digs in. And you obviously you get a good build up because he's old man. He has quite a bit to say about stuff. But this, plain and simple, guys, it's very, very easy. This Callum Simpson destroys him whenever he wants to because he's levels above Zach Shelley. Carl, you had your time to think now, mate. You've heard the opinions of the people that know what they're talking about. So let's say what you got to say.
I won't go that far, to be honest. My only question mark is, where is Callum Simpson in terms of development in his career? You look through his resume, not a great resume, to be honest. Zach Shelley's limited. Is limited. Let's have it right. It's limited. You don't get beat by the people like Cody Davis, who went on to great things, obviously. Jack Cullen, people like that, he got a draw with. So it all depends where Callum Simpson is in terms of his career. I don't know where he is. I don't know. Is he at a level yet? Where is that? Because he's been in with nobody's. Typical boxer.
Chomping at the bit, mate. That's where he's at. He's chomping at the bit.
Yeah. So I think he'll have enough at home. Zach Chelly's limited. You know, he'll come in and have a swing for the lights, try his best.
He always does, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's very workmanlike, isn't he?
Yeah.
The synergy with a midfielder like Robbie Savage, isn't he? Who's always going to give 100%. But he's never going to be a world beater. That's not a bad analogy. You can have that one, lads. So, yeah, I'll go for Callum Simpson to knock him out in round 4.
The only thing I want to have come out of all of this is that Canelo has to come to Barnsley for a mandatory.
Can you imagine? Come and have a meeting.
Wow.
Just
They'll have more than one.
In front of 7,000 people.
I was going to say,
in front of 7,000 people at Barnsley.
They might open the other stands if Canelo bothers himself.
Yeah, I think they'd have to. Yeah.
Callum Simpson, guys, is much better than this level. He hasn't had the opportunities. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Do you know why?
His career hasn't. Well, yeah. I've already said it, answer because he's with the wrong promoter. There's a reason, though, guys. There's a reason why he's not with Matchroom. You know, do we know? Do they know something in the trade about Callum Simpson and his team that we don't know about? On the outside, Callum Simpson's got all the tools.
I genuinely.
I just don't know. I don't know why.
I genuinely think that
why his career's stalled a little bit.
Boxer are in danger of becoming a feeder, almost a feeder promoter for the top 2 promoters in the country. It's my opinion. If Queensberry or Matchroom want to sign any boxer on the boxer resume, they would leave for Queensberry and Matchroom. That's my honest opinion. So I think it may be a case of let Callum Simpson build a following, let him build up his experience, and then we'll take the near to be polished outfit and sign him.
It almost feels like boxer are having to make promises to certain fighters to keep them now at this stage. Maybe perhaps a Richard Riakporhe, what we've seen with Selhurst Park, and now they're basically going to Callum Simpson. Don't leave us because we'll get you a fight at Oakwell.
Yeah.
And then what we're seeing off the back of that is, I don't want to use the word calamity, but they're not performing to the extent of the shows that they thought they would. I think in Ben Shalom's head, Selhurst Park was going to be filled with 30,000 people on Saturday night, and because it's not doing that, it's not helping the brands. I don't like the approach the last 6 to 12 months from Boxer. They've got the biggest broadcaster in Europe behind them with Sky, and they can really develop on certain things. And
that doesn't mean the biggest budget, does it?
Not at all, no. And they've had to get NBC on board just to sort of, extend out as much as they can. But clearly Sky aren't putting the budget behind they were with Matchroom.
Not like when Barney Francis was in charge with Eddie Hearn, and know. I mean, even Barney Francis wasn't that keen to start with, right? He had to be proved that the viewing figures were there.
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn left for DAZN for a reason, and he mentioned in a few interviews it was the fact that the budget was decreasing year on year.
Yeah.
Well, how many years has it been at DAZN now? 3 years?
3 odd years has it been, yeah.
So,
and because the Premier League rights and whatnot are going up as well, Sky clearly have their interests in other parts. And I don't think they're as invested as boxing as they once were, personally.
No, I agree. And that probably clips Shalom's wings in terms of who he can attract to get over his opponents. Let's have it right. If they're not in the same stable in terms of promotional outfit, he struggles, right? He struggles to get them opponents onto Sky shows.
Yeah.
So it's a concern.
Alarm bells ring, guys. Alarm bells ring for me when they don't get the voice of boxing in Adam Smith back in the fold when he's come through his illness. That why that doesn't happen, I don't know. And maybe it is down to the fact that their focus is not on boxing anymore. And Adam realizes that, and he's gone elsewhere.
Yeah, could be.
Adam knows his stuff. He's been around a long, long, long time, and maybe he sees the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I think they'll go to a multi-promotional platform, a bit like they did in the early 90s when they had like a Ricky Hatton putting some shows on, and then Warren would put some shows on. They had a plethora, a small group of promoters.
Yeah.
I can imagine them going that route.
They're also very disappointed with how the Top Rank numbers have done as well. Bar a couple of Shakur Stevenson and Devin Haney fights, the fights they've been picking up in the States and broadcasted internationally haven't done as well compared to previous deals they've had with US broadcasters, with PBC, with others. So that's playing a big part as well. They can't.
Do you know why? Sorry, Harrison. Do you know why I think that is, Harrison? Because we've been spoiled as fight fans, and all the big fights have been happening in London recently. So I think that this a bit younger than me are not used to getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and it is generally only hardcore fans that are getting up to watch these fights. So whatever Sky expected in terms of viewership is probably nowhere near, like you've said. So, you know,
and they've had a swing and a miss as well, because when they had Josh Taylor fighting in Scotland on a prime time sort of deal, that fight in particular, Jack Catterall, did very well for them. It peaked at $1 million, but since that, they just haven't built on it for me. What they would be looking to do then is getting the likes of Josh Taylor fighting over in the States, but getting people to stay up and to build, get a couple of fighters over who are from Top Rank, showing them, and then going back. But they just haven't done that for me. The state of boxing for Sky, which is normally so well structured at the minute, is a bit of a mess in my opinion.
Yeah. Also, Harrison, with them not having, it's okay putting these fights on at 3 and 4 in the morning with fighters that we all know as boxing hardcore fans. The boxing casuals won't know who these fighters are, and because there's not an English fighter fighting them, they've got no interest in staying up and watching it.
Yeah,
there's that, and there's also the fact. Where do you see half of these fights that are on at that time in the morning? Where are they advertised?
Yes.
There's no push on advertisement in at Sky Sports like there used to be. You know, when you saw these massive fights on, it was on everything. It was on all the adverts between TV series on other Sky channels. It was on Sky Sports all the time, flashing up. That don't happen anymore.
Yeah.
That's why no one sits up to watch it. No one knows it's on.
They've got a lot of problems because the content just isn't exciting. Nobody knows who the boxers are. They don't build a good enough rationale and storyline behind the fighters. The last exciting fight on Sky Sports from memory for me would probably be Wardley Clark.
Yeah.
You know, and how long ago was that now? So the content just isn't great, is it? And people get switched off, especially when you can hear, obviously, the exciting fights happening on the other platforms. So why would they sit and watch a Sky Sports fight night?
And there's no excuse from Sky either, because it's not like there's a lack of superstars in the state at the minute. They've got rights to the likes of Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, a lot of good top-ranked fighters. Tyson Fury is an exception, but Artur Beterbiev, people like that, they have the fighters. People in the UK, casuals, should know those names, and they should be getting excited.
It all comes back to budget, Harrison, right? Because you've got to get the rights for them fights, and it all comes back to the budget.
Well, they have the
and
rights.
Inoue fights in Japan. It's on Sky.
Yeah. No, they have the fighters. That's not the issue.
These are always daytime, though, aren't they? Anyway, like they're always in the day, aren't they?
Yeah, they're always Tuesday afternoon when I've got a team meeting.
Yeah.
Harrison. The thing is, you're assuming that casual fight fans know these fighters' names. I'm telling you now, they don't, mate.
No.
If you walk down the street and you put up a picture of half of these fighters that are fighting on these cards in the middle of the night over in America or wherever, you just put a picture up and ask who they are. Most of these casual fans won't know.
Yeah, no, sorry, I might have said something there. That is what I'm trying to get across. I'm saying that Sky aren't doing a good enough job of letting you know
they're
fighting.
Yeah.
And with social media at the minute, there's no excuse, is there? With social media, as prevalent as it is, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Right, on that happy note, I think we better bring it to an end. So,
Darren, enjoy yourself this weekend, mate. I hope you have a great night. Hope Tyler Denny gives you a bit of something to shout about and go home with by the end of the night, mate.
And I massively appreciate me giving the accreditation. Thanks a lot, guys.
No
Cheers.
worries. No worries.
Enjoy.
Well, you're our West Midlands correspondent, mate.
And I
Enjoy the
owe
Birmingham
Carl,
card, Darren.
cheers, Håkan. Nice one. And I owe Carl about 10 points now, I think.
I've never filled so many forms in, Daz.
I'll get you a few beers. Don't worry when I see you.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you come good, unlike Orkan. It took me 3 visits to get one out of him. He ran off in Sheffield.
Don't worry, I'll treat you to a Weatherspoons.
That's the way I roll, brother. That's the way I roll. Anyway, that's brilliant show again. Okay, Orkan, thank you very much for joining all the way from Sweden. Continue to support England. Much appreciated. Harrison, thank you for joining, fella.
Cheers, mate.
Guys, enjoy Saturday night. Obviously,
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
any footage, send it through to them. We'll post them on socials.
Okay.
This has been Last Ball Boxing, proudly sponsored by SC Travel Limited and LW Liftings. We'll be on next Thursday. That's Thursday, not Wednesday, 7 p.m. Post your comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much.